Ms. Hoysa asked me to talk about here today is kind of our small animal end of the projects. This is what I started in 4-H over in Leander 4-H more years ago than I care to remember. I started out in rabbits because my family moved from New York, where we were in a tight little apartment and couldn't have hardly anything. And we got to Texas, I go, oh, I'm gonna join 4-H, I'm gonna raise all these animals. And then Mom, very smartly, probably on her part, moved us into a kind of a subdivision where we couldn't have a whole heck of a lot, and still ended up aiming me in the direction of rabbits to start off with. And they're a great project because of that. We can do rabbits, we can do guinea pigs in a relatively limited amount of space compared to our large animals projects. So that's the more and more we get into urbanizing our world around us, more and more cities and less farmland, we start aiming towards smaller animals for our projects. But anyway, so I'm going to kind of talk about, we got 3 different little sections of our small animal project here. We got kind of our meat pen project. That's definitely the most popular end of the project when we talk about on the county show level. Then underneath our carpet square, we'll get to in a minute, we got some breeding rabbits. Got 3 different breeds under there. We'll pull them out in a second. And then we got our cavies, our guinea pigs over here. So when we're trying to decide about that, we need to think about first how much time we want to invest in this project. A meat pen project can be relatively short. If you want to buy your meat pens and just raise them up for the period from validation until showtime, it's probably still 5 or 6 weeks here. You can't get much more than that, just with the age of the rabbits that they have to be. You can raise your own meat pens, and then that project becomes year-round, and you're breeding those and trying to improve your rabbits throughout the year. Breeding rabbits, we have shows year-round at the ARBA level. Guinea pigs, same thing. It just depends on how involved you want to get is part of what we look at. And then just flat out what you like, okay? If you're raising meat pens, you're probably raising something that looks like this. This is a Californian. It is definitely our most populous breed of rabbit when we talk about meat pens. There's other breeds we can use, and even some more colorful breeds, but finding those that are of a good competitive nature is much harder. So if you really want to have good success, most of the time you're aiming for something like this. And me personally, when I started out in rabbits, I didn't like this. This is boring. This is a white rabbit, pink eye, and they all look like this. There's not a whole lot to them. They're great meat animals, and that's what they're for in meat pens. But you might not be into that. So that's any of these things we talk about. You gotta consider different challenges to them, but ultimately you gotta like it. You gotta be doing it because you enjoy doing it. You enjoy the animals. So, all right, pull out. All right, bless you.
Thank you.
So, right off, who thinks this one's a cuter rabbit than the one we had before? Right? Oh, and it is a cute rabbit. So this is called a mini lop. And if we're looking for this breed, this is the full size, and you see how big it's pretty comparable in size to the fairly young rabbit. This was a Williamson County last month project. Pen here, and they've still got a lot of growing to do. This rabbit here is going to be this size all the time. It can get a little fatter, it can get a little skinnier, but basically this is the size it is. But when we get into the breeding rabbits, not only do we have more opportunities to show year-round, we have a lot more opportunities to kind of delve into what we like, okay? Right now we have 49 recognized breeds of rabbits, and uncountable number of color combinations when we go throughout those different breeds and varieties. So there's probably something that you like in there. Finding it might be a little difficult, but we'll, of course, Kathy is always great about helping people find what they want for their project. But we do have, you know, knock on wood, we still have a breeding rabbit show at Williamson County. We had to fight for it when I was in 4-H, and we lost it for a while, and we got it back, and we're still fighting for it now. So as far as, so you can still show at the county show with these guys, which is a great perk if you're in a county like ours that has a breeding rabbit show. But then you can go all over the state, raising them and showing them. It is a year-round project, so even if you only, you know, might not breed your rabbit, you're going to have it the whole time. So if you're wanting that project that goes away after the county show, then probably the breeding rabbit's not the best choice for you, because the breeding rabbit breeders don't usually work the same way the meat pen breeders do, bringing them back after the show and buying them back from you, like many of our meat pen breeders do. Kathy, lead me here. Lead me. Point me in a direction of something I talk about.
How would you get started in these?
How did I get started?
How did kids get started in it?
So the best way to go about, I'll just pull out this rabbit so I'm doing something with my hands while I'm talking in here. So when you're starting out, and we'll talk about the guinea pigs in a minute, but this applies to the cavies as well. If you're interested in rabbits, the best thing to do to kind of start getting a feel for it is to go to a show. We've got one coming up this next weekend, just right over in Killeen, about as quick of a drive as you can get for going to a show. And there's going to be at least 20-25 breeds of rabbits. There's going to be breeders from all over the state come there. Good to go and walk around. You can, you know, look at the American Rabbit Breeders website and get some, you know, kind of search around and look for pictures, but until you really go and see everything for yourself. So that's what you, to start out with, I'd say go to a show, look around at the rabbits, see if anything piques your interest, see if anything there you really like. Like for me, for example, I remember in the Book of Standards, I think Kathy's got a copy of it in there, but it's not necessary. But anyway, the book we look to kind of show us what rabbits and guinea pigs are supposed to look like. When I started, there was a picture of an American fuzzy lop in there. Beautiful rabbit. I just loved, I knew that was the rabbit. It was a tort with a big old beautiful head, and it just had this shield of hair on it that really didn't. And then when I saw him in person and saw what the wool really was, I said, you know what? That's maybe not so interesting to me anymore. I realized that rabbit was not a very good representation of what the entire breed was, and that it wasn't just a shield of hair, it was actual wool that needed to be maintained and needed to be taken care of. So the pictures are great, but getting to that show and seeing what's there is a good thing too. You can, okay, so you found something online. I found a picture of a Beverin, and I think that's a really cool looking rabbit. It's this big white rabbit, and the white ones have blue eyes, and they're just really cool looking with that. You start looking for them around here. If you find one, you're gonna be showing against yourself every single time. And I did that with Polish, actually. When I started with Polish, the little guys there in the middle, I was showing against myself for a long time, and that was fun at first, getting a few ribbons. Then it kind of got boring for me. But also going to that show, you find something you like, you start talking to breeders, start talking to the people that are going to be helping you get started. You know, Kathy is a great resource here for you know, your basic rabbit questions and cavie questions, but you need that insight from the breeders, especially, you know, if you get a breed that maybe Kathy's not familiar with, maybe I'm not familiar with, you know. The breeders are going to be the ones that kind of point you in the right direction after that kind of basic stuff, the basic keeping them alive sort of thing to them.
talk about the different sizes that we can get into with our bunnies? Because we've got...
Yep, that's a good, well, we don't have a whole big variance here, but I'll pull up the poll. So that is a good point. We do have a very big range of sizes on the rabbits. We've got a Polish here, which is maximum weight 3.5 pounds. We'd really like them to not quite be that big either, for the most part. But they're on the small end, and we get from them in the 2.5, 3.5 pound range on up to Flemish Giants that fill up this carpet square, getting into the 18-pound range, and everything in between. Californians, when they get to be adult size, they should be between 8.5, 10.5 pounds, so kind of a medium-sized rabbit. When we think about them, the mini lops there, they max out at 6.5, so they're kind of a little mid to small size rabbit, and that gives us a lot of great range. And you need to definitely need to think about that size when you're starting out, because they're not cats. I feel weird that I have to say that, but that just popped into my mind, that how many times I've had to remind people. I had a lady call me about French lops, which are another big rabbit. Very massive, very heavy bone. They're good temperament, but they're a very big rabbit. And the lady, after I was trying to talk to her for a minute, proudly proclaimed to me that her 5-year-old would be able to handle it because they had a big cat. I said, they're not cats. Oh, no, we know. Okay, you know everything, go on. That sort of deal. They're not cats. They handle, the weight feels different on them than a similar sized cat or any other animal, really. So you definitely need to think about that size of animal when you're considering. Not to mean that you can't, again, what you like is what you like. So I still stand by that. But sometimes you maybe wait a little bit down the line to get what your top choice, if they're a little bit on the larger side. But all these breeds that we have here under the carpet, the Polish, what's on top of it now, the fuzzy lop, mini lop, those are all a good size to get going with. Well, let's talk about the cavies for a minute. We've been kind of neglecting them, which you're going to get neglected. If you raise cavies, you're going to get neglected.
Yes, we do.
Within the ARBA, the American Rabbit Breeders Association, we also recognize cavies, guinea pigs. And guinea pigs are a really fun kind of alternate project to the rabbits, because so there's some different things about them, like that we have in the cavie world that we don't have other places. We have curly-haired guinea pigs. We have guinea pigs that have all these nice cowlicks that stick up and make rosettes and ridges to them. We have some colors that we don't have in rabbits. We have roans, like we have this one here. We've got different style of coloration here on a broken. We have obviously lots of broken colored animals. We got our little fuzzy lop down there, but you can see here that obviously the pattern is different. So there's some different things in the guinea pigs that can maybe intrigue our interest a little bit more as far as different coat types. They're even a smaller area project than the rabbits are. These can be, small breeding program can easily be housed inside without a whole lot of issue. Actually, I had kind of over 100 before I finally built a corner in my garage for them to have their own separate room. So you can even get nuts with it while maintaining inside, and that's in the same area that might have housed 30 rabbits, depending on the breed. Some things to consider when we're doing them, differences between them. Again, they're not rabbits. We shouldn't have to say this out loud so many times, but they're not rabbits. Even though they're in the same book, they're in the same organization, they do have their differences. The biggest one, probably the biggest one that keeps people from them, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is that they do need to be kept on solid bottom cages. They need to be kept on shavings. And with that, it doesn't give you any room for error on cleaning. You've really got to keep up with that. My rabbits, they're in hanging cages out in the barn, single level. And if I don't shovel a week or two, it doesn't really matter because I've got good ventilation in the barn. It's not gonna, and I say they're hanging from my height too. So the poop's way down there, it's away from them. They're gonna stay clean. The guinea pigs, I can't skip a week. If I skip a week, they're getting dirty, they're building up ammonia, they're rolling in their own stuff and getting dirty. I gotta keep up with them. So that is one big thing that I think that's when I see rabbit kids or adults go to the cavie side and not have success and not stay with it, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I see between them. Also, something I remember, actually with both these species, but probably with cavies more than any of them, find out if you're allergic ahead of time. This is, the guinea pigs, you would not believe how many people are allergic to guinea pigs. Like I tell people, I've had 3 girlfriends that were allergic to guinea pigs. And I'm like, look at me, I'm not a stud. I haven't had a lot of girlfriends in my life, but 3 of them have been allergic to guinea pigs, okay?
One of whose is a judge.
Yeah. One of them is now a rabbit judge and she loves guinea pigs, but she breaks out in hives anytime she touches them. My current girlfriend, she's actually somehow only allergic to the boars. And I really thought she was lying. I really thought she was full of it when she first told me that. But it's true. And rabbits, obviously, you can be allergic to rabbits too, but there's just something about guinea pigs that if you're going to be allergic to any animal species, this one, go ahead and check. Go ahead and get a little tuft of fur, just rub it on the back of your hand and see if something happens there. That way we know your mom's lying when she says you developed an allergy later when you just stopped caring about them and want to sell them. We've had plenty of those, haven't we, Kathy? Yeah. Let's see.
Easy breeds to start with on all 3 of.
Good breeds to start with. We kind of talked about on the meat pen side of things. Californian is definitely not the only breed in town, but it's the breed that's got the most breeders working with them. And at any time you have more people breeding something and working toward the same goal, it's just more likely that you're going to have good ones available to you. Other breeds that would be good would be New Zealand's. Both the white and the blacks or brokens are good. For meat pens, satins, another good breed. Palominos are what I use. I probably wouldn't recommend those most of the time, but again, that was a case when I was breeding them. I didn't like these. I didn't think they were pretty. My Palominos, they were pretty rabbits to me, and they were also a rabbit that I could, if I worked hard enough, breed to make a good meat pen. And I held my own. I never won the county show, but I got in the top 10 out of, so I beat out a lot of white rabbits. But past that, there's not a whole lot of options, especially for when you're thinking about starting out. When we are on breeding rabbits, something like a Polish is definitely a good rabbit to start off with. They're typically docile, they're good mothers, raise their babies good, well. I'd aim you away from wool. Even though our American Fuzzy Lops and our Jersey Woolies are small wool breeds, hey buddy, bless you. They're actually made to, if you've got a good coat on them, they should be easy care, but it is still wool. It is still a little bit of an extra process to taking care of them. Things I would avoid on breeding rabbit side to get started with, sadly, are the ones that are most commonly raised, and that's Holland Lops and Netherland Dwarfs. Both are very cute little breeds of rabbits. They're adorable. They're great rabbits, but they're a lot of times harder to breed. A lot of times harder to find good ones. Those breeds we have in Texas, but we don't have. Yeah, and that's a good point, Kathy. Finding good ones is going to be much more expensive. Or you're not getting a hold of a good Holland Lop for less than $200. And But Polish mini lops, you're well, you know, a good honest breeder will sell for $50, $70 to $5 most of the time to get you started with something. Mini lops are a good breed. They have the lop look to them. They're not overly big. They do breed a lot better than our Holland lops on average. Everything I'm talking about here is in general terms. Other breeds, Himalayans are actually a really good breed. They look like this, except small and skinny, and they only get to about 4.5 pounds. So they're kind of look like them. They're about that size and skinny, and definitely the most easygoing rabbit I've ever raised. I raised a lot of them. I fell in love with the breed's personality, even though I, again, don't really care for that look of rabbit as far as the coloration. But they're ones, you know, you can stack up 3 or 4 on your way to the show table because they're just chilling out the whole time. On our cavies, good breeds to start off with, definitely the American. That is our kind of our basic, our palette to start off with on our template. There's the word I was looking for. This is kind of the breed that we kind of compare all others to start off with. You know, we look at a long-haired guinea pig. It's really underneath. It's still just an American. I mean, we just alter them by one gene or another. But with the Americans, we get a lot of benefits to them. There's more of them out there. They're easier to find. More options of colors out there. There's, again, just like I was talking about with the Californians on the meat pen rabbits, the more people that are breeding them, the more likely to be able to get good ones. And you don't have a whole lot of extra care. You know, maybe bathe them before you go to a show, but there's no wrapping up the coat like we have on our long hair animals. There's not the problems with them sitting under their water bottles like our teddies love to do. Bring one up. Oh, okay, you're okay. Like this breed here is a teddy, and their coat is not really high maintenance. Certainly, it's a short coat. It's kind of coarse, kinky, but you'll see this little guy here. He's got a little track here where he likes to sit under his water bottle, and getting that fixed is a little bit more difficult. If this guy sits in something, you know, you give him a treat, you know, watermelon. I was wondering if that would set off Kathy. We'll get to that fun fact in a minute. But if you give them a treat or something, they sit in it, their coat gets sticky, you can bathe them real easy. And it takes about 5 minutes and then however long to dry them off. Something like this, if they get something on their coat, they get dirty, you bathe them, you need at least a month, I'd say, before the natural oil, the natural characteristics of that coat comes back after we wash them. So stuff like that, certainly all that sort of stuff really make American a good breed to start off with. If the coat type doesn't excite you, we've got lots and lots of different colors. Let's see, we've got 19 showroom classifications, and several of those have multiple varieties and different colors in amongst them. Let's see.
Basic care?
Yeah. Okay. So rabbits, we're gonna need, for most of our breeds, we like to use a wire bottom cage. It's very easy to keep clean that way. Some of our giant breeds, you might go for a solid bottom, but again, those are probably maybe more advanced a little bit later down the line, just because giant rabbits have more weight on them, so you want to have more support that the wire can't offer them necessarily. But for most of our breeds, a good wire bottom cage. Our small rabbits, like a 24 by 24 cage for our buck or our doe would be good. When we get up into our Californians, our mid-size rabbits, we're talking you know, at least 30 by 30, maybe a 30 by 36 for does that are possibly going to have babies a little bit larger. Guinea pigs, we get a little bit more. Like I said, we do need to have the solid bottoms. Those pet cages that you get at PetSmart, those are okay, but they are expensive, and you're gonna you run out of options pretty quick. Good old plastic Sterilite tubs work great for these guys. You figure out a way to attach a water bottle to the side, and you just go, and you can buy replacement cages at Walmart 24 hours a day, which is really a nice perk to the guinea pigs. Although they did switch up the sizes. Have you noticed they switched up the size?
Oh no, Target's little purple handled ones that we all use.
You use a little bit different, but yeah, I gotta find something, because they're the same sizes, but they changed the configuration on me, so I went to go get replacements for what I like. So rabbits, we do have rabbit pellets, a pelletized feed. We got several brands you can find at different feed stores around. Basic rule of thumb is at least 16%. This is definitely something, 16% protein, I should say. Not everybody knows that first number that we talk about on a feed is the protein. But that is one thing you should kind of ask your breeder when you get started. That's kind of a 16%, and you know, talking maybe a quarter of a cup of feed a day for small rabbits, quarter or a third, a half to 3/4, depending on your rabbits. You wanna kind of start them off with that amount of feed, and then see if they get fat, see if they get skinny, and then adjust as you go to get the best condition out of your animals. Guinea pigs, they do sell actual guinea pig food, but and the part that makes their feed different is it has vitamin C mixed in. That's a very important part of a guinea pig's diet, is the vitamin C. They can't make their own, and they need lots of it. But I stopped using actual guinea pig food for myself, because when you have that vitamin C in there, after about 90 days, it's almost completely gone, and it starts deteriorating before that. So a good rabbit, I use a good rabbit pellet, and then add vitamin C to their water because that's basically the main difference between a rabbit pellet and a cavie pellet as far as feeding goes.
And veggies. And veggies.
Oh yeah, yeah. And veggies, the guinea pigs definitely love their veggies. Anything. Back when I did feed mine veggies, parsley, cilantro were some of their favorites. Carrots are a good standby. We do want to avoid giving them too many treats, just like anything else. The treats make them fat and kind of puffy. Isn't that a irony that vegetables make you fat if you're a guinea pig or a rabbit? But if you give them too much, they can bloat, and they can, especially on the rabbits. We want to really keep veggie to a minimum. Give them their pellets, their hay, maybe a little oatmeal, maybe a little oats as a treat, but not too much on them. The pigs could eat their weight in any leafy greens, and they are very vocal. I don't know if we have a plastic bag here we could rattle for them, or if they'd even go off since they're here in public and everything. But they do squeak. That's the hoppers. Hoppers are these. Thank you, Luke. But hoppers and squeakers, that's where the name comes from. And some people, that's actually a deterrent from them raising. I've heard several people say, you know, they're cute. I like to look at them, but I just can't handle that squeaking all the time. And to each their own. And but it is different. Rabbits only make sound when they're really, really scared or really, really hurt. It's a terrible sound. Hopefully you never hear it, but it does happen. But they're on average though, they're obviously a much more quiet species. Other basic care stuff. As far as grooming, obviously your animals It's going to depend on the coat type. Most of our regular coated rabbits, you can do your normal grooming by just getting your hands kind of damp and running your hands back and forth over them. Same kind of goes for our American, our short-haired guinea pigs. Americans have short-haired guinea pigs, yeah. And then, you know, if we're getting into our long-haired, you don't have anything in coating where you got rid of everything else, right? Okay. So like these guys, when they get a full coat, they'll be out to here with their coat. And obviously they can't live day to day with that in their tub, or they'd step on it, they'd get it dirty. So we actually roll it up in paper towels or butchered paper, or all sorts of different materials, and they carry little buns of their hair back around them. The wool animals on rabbits, they basically you need to you're talking about at least once a week if you of grooming. If they've got a good coat type like they should, like for this guy, maybe a little less. I've still got that Jersey Woolly of Emily's that I haven't groomed. He hasn't been groomed since I got him to the house, but he's still in good coat because he's got really correct texture. But they do need to be groomed a little bit more, a slicker brush to kind of work out the mats. But for all of them, keeping them from getting in bad shape is the best method of good grooming. You know, ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure, sort of thing. All right, Amy.
Do you guys have any questions?
Do you like to come pet the bunnies and pet the rabbits?
But you got to tell the guinea pig because we can't have a Mikey clinic without.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes, we have to. You have to tell
All right, so fun fact, and the parents will love me, but this is probably, if you don't remember a single thing I said all day, you will remember this fact. So a guinea pig, which one's a boar, Kathy?
Johnny in the front, the tech teddy.
Thank you, Luke, for telling me the breed instead of Johnny. Thank you, Kathy. All right. Well, anyway, all right. So a boy guinea pig, which we call boars, their testicles are the size equivalent if a human had watermelons down there. As far as proportionate to their size, they. Yeah, that's your fun fact for the day. Like I said, your kids will remember it forever, so you're welcome for that.
Mine do.
And his aren't natural. He must be cold.
It's cold. All right. Huge thanks to Mikey.